Good morning, welcome to a morning outlook. This is Kim speaking on, Tuesday, the 8th of June. Every day surprised me. This year has flown past. Right, as we head towards mid year, only another 13 days away, and just looking at the markets, then it's this year we've got very little. This week we've got very little in the earlier part of the week. We've got nothing today at all. The German economic sentiment at 10 o'clock, but really looking at the Bank of Canada rates at 3 p.m. tomorrow, and then they got the ECB press conference decisions and press conference on Thursday. So we do have something to hold things up, maybe slow things down ahead of us. So where do we stand technically at the moment? Then the euro looks quite at one stage yesterday looked like it was going to continue in that downside. As I said before, it's put a lower high in, but it's put a more bullish sort of pattern coming through here. Question is, will we sort of start breaking from this little trend here? The only thing is, of course, is that we had the big push up, retracement, smaller push up, retracement. It's whether or not we'll see more of a continuation from this. And what I've done here is just drawn a trend line across. It was late yesterday. Well, I say late, it's 12 o'clock it started occurring. It wasn't the most convincing of anything at the time with the price action. Pulled back, it just hit into the new weekly pivot there, pulled away from it. Didn't look particularly good, and it was later in the afternoon there at 2 o'clock when it started pushing through. Not the most, as I say, not the most convincing for me in terms of price action on something that looks like it's struggling somewhat. So once again, we just need to watch this market. Post 8 o'clock is the normal time we see any real action. It's difficult to judge things too quickly beforehand. As I said, there's the sort of the potential for another shove up here. How much of a shove we'll see, but again, I do wonder if it will be later if it occurs. Okay, the pound. So the pound living in its choppy old range, looking at a break of 142, that sort of 142 area to maybe give us a bit of a clue, but it really needs to get up a bit. 122.50 to clear to actually break those prior highs and actually get a decent move. Difficult one intraday when it's literally going from sort of, it's okay, we've had a couple of points here where it's gone a bit more precise, but yesterday didn't sell off to the lows. It just sort of come back, and you've got this more difficult range to bear with. Again, we could be drawing trend lines, so I should probably put a trend line across the highs there and look for that break to the upside. It's I think with a pound, it's got the potential to kick off and kick on really, but at the moment the target's quite limited. Intraday targets may be quite limited how it's been sitting, but at some stage, if it keeps on knocking on that 142 door, it'll push through. Dollar yen was gaining yesterday, most of the previous day there as well, but yesterday gained and held on to its gains towards the close there. It's bounced a little bit off its daily 50 at this stage. It's broken both the highs and the lows here recently, so it's again not really very clear. Now we do have the weekly pivot above, and a push further up may give us an opportunity to do something. I'm just looking, didn't even get a clear divergence at the lows here. It was it didn't get quite so low. At the moment it's edging its way back, but to the upside. But again, we could just be drawing trend lines or waiting for a break of the monthly pivot again to see if there's any further downside. It's not moving very much. It's just like the euro. It moved 30 pips, I think, 28 pips, all, well, even with that move at 12 o'clock yesterday. Aussie dollar, well, the Aussie dollar is continuing to be very rangy. Yesterday it did very little in terms of movement, not much to look at there. Canadian dollar actually went against the grain a little bit. I was looking yesterday at the amount of retail traders that are long on this pair, and it's quite significant. It's well into the 80s that are sitting there long, and it on that basis maybe we'll get a one more squeeze, a short squeeze, or long squeeze in this case, beg your pardon, effectively. Well, it's effectively a short squeeze on the Canadian dollar, but a long squeeze on the US dollar stroke Canadian dollar, just to clear some of this out. But we do, of course, we do have tomorrow the Bank of Canada meeting, and that in itself could put the squeeze on. But not an intraday pair at the moment, and there is risk both ways on this. So I'm just sort of leaving that alone. Canadian dollar, it was doing half decently as the Aussie dollar. Actually, Aussie dollar at one stage on its little tiny up day there was the strongest of the day. New Zealand dollar wasn't far behind, but neither of them look really that convincing in terms of what they're doing. I mean, this was the second strongest market, and this is all it could do yesterday. So tight old times here. I still think there's a few currencies, the Canadian dollar, the New Zealand dollar, and maybe even the pound dollar, that have got the better opportunities in terms of or better scope in terms of the tapering being reduced earlier. And certainly with the Canadian dollar, I think it will see more mention of that on Wednesday. But it is expected. So if it isn't mentioned, then well, that would be the perhaps the movement that creates some. The Canadian dollar to all of a sudden the US dollar, Canadian dollar to push up. Here with the New Zealand dollar, well, we haven't got any news this week on it, but it's as I say, it's quite bullish overall, quite hawkish from a central bank point of view. Right, other markets then. Well, usual suspects. Then I'll look at your Euro CAD, which has been favoured. Euro CAD, it's just not really. I mean, yesterday went completely the other way. It's this retail market, retail traders' market. I should imagine it's pushing this the complete opposite way to where we would expect it to continue trend-wise downwards. Okay, hasn't really broken out that trend, but certainly making it difficult for anyone that's sitting there. Just as me sitting in my Canadian short, it's patience, and this is a game of patience here. Okay, that's that. Euro yen is often a good trade. This one here, again, it's been there's a lot of sellers sitting on the Euro yen. It's, to me, well, I was looking at it yesterday, and it was just giving me certain signs that, well, this could be turning around. It's put a key reversal bar there on the 4 hourlies there. A break above that 133.40, I marked it on here, could signify more bullishness. Smaller time frames, a bit choppy at the moment, but well, that's just news. And I say just news, just noise even. Okay, S&Ps. So the S&Ps this morning looks like it's just chipped back into the highs there this morning. Couldn't really do too much yesterday. Really thin old market yesterday, as we look at it there, and just, well, again, this market's one of those. I mean, well, all the markets could go either way. It's a silly statement in a sense, but when you're looking at what's going on here, there's signs of weakness on the top side there. There's signs of weakness either side. Perhaps it's strength may be kicking through there, but very difficult to actually work out, well, which direction is this going to go. It would probably be weighted towards the upside, or it is weighted towards the upside here, but it's not rushing. There's no rush there at this stage. Okay, it's the S&Ps. So traders aren't so convinced at this stage. Gold. Well, gold yesterday, saw the money flowing back in. Stalling at the moment a little bit, but well, again, we're seeing this sort of big shove up from the news on Friday, slower move up yesterday, but it's still to the upside, and it's still looking like there's some still potential to push on further. Okay, that's pretty much that. Oil, just looking from the big picture here, so topped out a little bit yesterday, just into the $70 barrel area, pulled back from that, bit more of a deeper, but well, I don't know, actually it's probably big enough here. It's just come back to its weekly pivot now. Maybe there'll be opportunity to catch this later on and see if it pushes back up once more, but it's a bit early in the morning for me on oil, and as I said, it could be a later trade there, a push back up towards its daily pivot, and maybe even back into towards the R1 area, back into those highs. Okay, that's oil. That's one other thing then. Bitcoin. I'm just going to have to look at the futures on here because can't seem to switch at the moment from here onto a browser. So no surprise for me at all. We've seen a break towards the downside. There is a video I did on last Thursday, I think it was, on Bitcoin on our YouTube site. It's actually was joining another video I did. So there is a video sitting there, which was showing my thoughts of Bitcoin. I'd actually drawn the wedge across here. I still think it's in a downward trend, and well, it's just proving that matter at the moment. So looking soft on Bitcoin, Ethereum and Ripple, both following suit at the moment. So at the moment, crypto's the three majors I look at. If you look at Dog as well, or Doge, whichever you want to call it, that's also following the trend to the downside. So all looking quite soft at the moment on the cryptos, for now at least. Okay, that's pretty much it for today. There's so just looking here, someone's looking at the, John, you're looking at the Aussie yen. Aussie yen, the Aussie yen's been in a funny old choppy movement on there. Upside, well, there's potential. I'm looking at this and looking at what the Aussie's done recently. Yep, we might get a little bit more, but or bit more. He may be pushing out of this trend. It's, to me, it's not really. The trend is sideward, pretty much on the 4-hourlies. Overall, what's been going on here is very difficult. I think a lot of traders end up getting caught into this sort of noise, and it's not. If you were looking for a really nice chart, I don't know if this would be it. I can see on the lower time frames, yep, it looks like at some stage it's going to bang so much on that door, it's going to push on through. Maybe the big money will let it push through and then sell into it quite strongly. So it's not one for me. The Aussie itself has not been trading particularly well. The yen has been trading in very tight ranges. It's just not a pair as much as I'd like to be trading in. Yesterday I couldn't catch a trade for the life of me. I just didn't see any decent setups. Well, I was getting setups but no triggers. Saw, I think it was three setups yesterday, but that's the way these markets go at times, and we just got to let them work their way through. And personally, I'm not going to be chasing things. I just wait patiently and see if we can get some trades. Okay, I wish you a great day, and I will speak to you in the morning. Bye for now.